Hello class. I'm here again to talk about how to set up a still life. I have here my next still life that I'm going to be working on, and I wanted to just give you feedback based on what I've seen so far on your egg drawings. And so one thing that I would like to say about setting up a still life is you can make it more interesting by having a cloth over your surface. So that'll give you some kind of folds and drapery to draw. You can also have that drapery as a backdrop. It doesn't have to be a white sheet. It could be a sheet with pattern on it if it's something that you want to draw. I've had sheets as backdrops that have circles on it, that have floral patterns. You know, be careful, you don't want to cut out more work for you than you're really able to handle, but at the same time, it's interesting to have something in the background. What we're going for in this still life section, these three drawings are going to be part of your portfolio. And as I mentioned before, you want these to be good. You want them to be 18 by 24, and you want them to have an interesting composition. Okay, you don't want to just have a few things that are placed in the center of your paper, and out to the edge of your paper there's just gray. What you want is you want to set up more than you need. You want to have objects at different heights. Notice I make a point to have some things that are interesting, like this dried out pumpkin, low, and some things high. You want to be able to use your stick here to assess angles. You want to have some interesting negative spaces. I probably could have done more with this, but at this point I think it's complicated enough. So what I would suggest for you is to look for objects in your home. It doesn't matter if they go together. It doesn't have to be picturesque. It doesn't have to be theme oriented. Although I encourage you, if you're feeling it, if you guys want to do a Halloween theme, if you have any kind of like strange Halloween decorations or props around, that could always be a fun thing to do. But I encourage you to bring out more than you need. And the reason that I did that is that, as I was saying before, we want our compositions to go off of the paper. We don't want just a few things floating in the center of our paper. And you can use this viewfinder to, once you get your still life set up, then you can use this sort of like you would a camera lens. You can even use your cell phone camera to then crop out an area of interest that has an interesting composition. Again, avoid having the thing of interest being just completely dead in the center and then other things around it feeling equal. That's called a central composition, and that's really very boring. So let's try to get things where you have some interesting negative spaces in between your objects, you have different heights, and you use your viewfinder or your cell phone to crop out a composition that's interesting. Now I tried this before starting this video, and I'm going to try to show you what I mean, or what that looks like. So I'm going to come over here and try to put this in front of the camera. It may not work. It may be awkward. Ouch, I may step on a Lego. So, of course, you're not going to draw that, right? Find something interesting. There, that would be an example. It's a little crooked in the view. But that would be an example of, you could draw something like that. You see, you have lines that go, well, I would want to get that tall thing maybe a third of the way in. Just crop out something that's interesting. You want lines to go off your paper. You want objects to go off your paper. You can try, well, this isn't going to work, but you get the idea, right? So it's like anytime you're looking in your phone, you're deciding what composition to crop out, okay? And so here, it's going to be the same thing. Give yourself a large scene, and then try to crop out something that feels dynamic on your paper. All right, so the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is lighting. So I have a light that's up here behind me. You can tell it's lighting. Oh, it's a reverse image, so it's confusing. It's lighting this side of my face, and one side of the still life, and that's what I mean when I refer to directional lighting. So I have the curtains drawn in this room. I have the light out. I have one light source, and it's up and to the left, so that it's lighting one side of the objects very brightly, and the other side fall in shadow. And what that's doing is it's mimicking the classic order of light diagrams that I've given you, and it's really showing how that light falls across an object. You can notice here at how the drapery is really lit very classically. Everything on this side will be brighter, and as the objects turn away from the light source, they'll go into shadow. There should be some interesting shadows on your sheet. And this, notice how this spout has that classic cylinder lighting right here, where you've got your highlight, and then you've got some light, and then you've got a shadow down here. These flowers are casting shadows here. This is going to have that classic cylinder lighting. And as for the fruit, those are going to have spherical lighting. Each of these grapes will be, a lot of them have highlights, like there's a highlight here, and the core shadows are here. Although on these it's a little hard to tell because of they have that dark purple on them. But the idea is get some directional lighting so that your objects have that definition, and it's just going to be easier for you to draw. Trying to think if there's anything else on setup. I'm also going to do another video that shows how to approach starting the drawing. You know, you're going to get your 18 by 24 paper. You're going to get some vine charcoal. Start with that medium ground, not too dark. And you're going to rub that in with a paper towel. Then you're going to start measuring. Use this measuring stick, okay? So not only does the stick measure proportions in a single object. So, for example, if I am going to draw this, I'm going to want to know what the width is relative to its height. But in addition to that, in addition to assessing proportions of a singular object, I'm going to draw angles. I'm going to look at negative spaces. I'm going to hold my stick up in my vision to see what that negative space looks like right here. Okay? I will use it to, when I draw something, let's say I drew this first, and because it's the tallest object, and I just had an idea of where it would go, what I would do then, when drawing these other objects that are overlapping it in my vision or other things that are next to it, I'll hold my stick up parallel, and I'll say, okay, the end of the flower comes up to that part on my candlestick. Okay, so my hand is blocking. Let me see if I can move. So it comes up to right here on the candlestick, right there. I can hold up my my stick this way to see where the rose is in. When I'm drawing the pumpkin, I can say, well, the top of the stem intersects the candlestick right here. It also intersects this line, so it's all about looking at relationships when you're drawing. Compare, everything in your drawing is connected. So what you want to do is you want to compare those things, compare those relationships. Look at negative spaces. If you're having a hard time drawing something, like let's say this, you're drawing this pear, and the way you're looking at it, it's just got a strange, it's tricking your eyes. You can hold your stick up and look at the negative space. You say, okay, well, there's a little triangle down here when I hold my stick up. So, and then you can actually physically draw a line on your paper that would emulate this stick. And you can look at the little triangles that the pear makes. You can hold your stick this way, and there would be some triangles that way. You could draw a box. Basically, the idea is just to do anything you can to make your powers of observation work for you with the tools that you have. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. We have viewfinder, tall and short setup, objects around the house. Just try to get some different objects. And I will do a tutorial on how to draw flowers. I don't know if you all want to put flowers in your still lives. If you absolutely can't find anything, or you're having difficulty setting up your own still life, you can use my picture. This is fairly complicated, so I don't know if you're really going to want to use it, but you can. And I will be posting, I don't know if it'll be this week, depending on how much time I have, a little tutorial on drawing flowers. Okay, so that's it for this video. Next video, we'll be starting the drawing.